Hello, my name is Iris, and I major in Master of Applied Linguistics. I am honored to offer you a presentation explaining how to improve students' reading fluency. My presentation involves 4 sections. Firstly, I will briefly introduce the definition of reading fluency, as well as its importance. Secondly, I will explain what in-class activities I used to use to enhance my students' reading fluency. Next, I will present 3 approaches for teachers to employ in the classroom. Finally, I will end my presentation with a brief conclusion. Now, let's get started. Becoming a successful reader involves a number of different skills, including phonemic awareness, decoding, vocabulary, and comprehending text, creating quite a complex process. Reading fluency is defined as a foundational reading competency which is critical to reading success. Some researchers regard reading fluency as a competency that is developed and mastered in the elementary grades. Indeed, the Common Core identifies fluency as a competency to be developed only through grade 5. Although it is true that fluency is critical in the elementary grades, as students move through the middle and secondary grades, the texts encountered become increasingly more complex, and thus the need for corresponding increases in fluency is apparent. As you can see, a body of research has found that many students in the middle and secondary grades continue to struggle with reading fluency. Therefore, I believe at the moment you might understand how important it is to improve students' reading fluency. In dealing with commoners of reading fluency, Russell claimed that major elements of fluency are speed of reading, accuracy, and proper expressions. Blevins noted that a fluent reader is one who can read rapidly, recognize words automatically, and interpret phrases correctly. According to the literature above, reading fluency includes 3 components. The first is the accuracy of word recognition, namely, the ability of readers to correctly pronounce the words encountered in text. The second is reading speed, which is often used as a measure of automacy. Automacy reflects the extent to which words are retrieved from long-term memory. As students become more automatic in word recognition, their reading speed should increase correspondingly. The third is prosody, namely, the ability to read with expression, volume, pitch, and phrasing that reflects and enhances the meaning of the text when reading orally. Now, after introducing the definition, importance, and components of reading fluency, I would like to tell several methods I used to employ in my classroom. While working as a teaching assistant in a Chinese primary school, I experienced listening to a halting, stumbling reader read aloud. It was hard to sit through, especially because I knew that the student was experiencing as much, if not more, discomfort than I was. After consulting with several more experienced tutors, I employed some in-class activities to improve my students' reading fluency. For example, I asked my students to listen to a taped recording of a storybook while following along in the story. Furthermore, after reading a paragraph of a story to my class, I would ask my students to read and reread the same text again and again. In addition, I told my students to choose an interesting book and finish reading it within an hour. These activities actually helped my students with their reading fluency, and I couldn't help wondering, what were the theories behind them? Why did they work? So, after looking into a body of research, I offer you 3 methods that teachers could use to improve students' reading fluency. The first method is repeated reading, which involves having a student reread a short passage 2 or more times. The second method is extensive reading. It is an approach in which a wide selection of reading materials are made available to students. It can promote reading fluency by means of increasing reading rate. The third method is passage previewing. It is an intervention commonly utilized to increase students' reading fluency by means of improving their prosody. It involves the activity in which a written and oral preview is presented to students before they read a selection. In conclusion, given the fact that many students are still not fluent readers after entering the middle and secondary grades, teachers should pay great attention to students' reading fluency and apply effective teaching methods to the classroom. So what are these methods? I bet you could understand this question now. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your watching. Goodbye.